Let's go, Razorback Nation. One of the biggest, you could even make a case that this is the biggest non conference game of Sam Pittman's career in a hot seat ish kind of season. I really enjoyed what Sam Pittman said earlier today about the game versus Oklahoma State. He just bluntly put out there that they were not tested versus UAPB. So I won't talk too much about UAPB for a few reasons. Number one, we normally go live Mondays at 5 p.m. Central. Obviously, with the Labor Day holiday and your boy traveling back from Las Vegas, we'll talk about LSU a little bit later and the rest of the SEC. But Sam Pittman did say that they were not tested. And he wasn't disrespectful of UAPB, but that was the worst team Arkansas has ever faced. I truly do mean it. The worst. It's one of the worst teams I've ever seen an SEC team, any SEC team face, especially since, A&M and Missouri joined. So basically over the past decade, we've seen some teams play some soft teams, but UAPB might be the absolute worst. So like we do with all our Arkansas live streams, I am here from a film-ish standpoint, but I want this to be more of a live show. I love doing live content. I also love doing film studies, but this is a little bit different. I love talking just everything regarding football instead of just the X's and O's, okay? So let's start with the game and what I saw tape-wise. Like I told you when I did the film study, I really did not watch Arkansas versus UAPB. I did watch highlights. I did watch bits and pieces of replays, but I cut the film study and I just got it out as quickly as I could on Thursday night because, well, I was doing a bunch of subscriber meetups while I was in Las Vegas. So I filmed it, put it together pretty quickly. There's really not a whole lot you could take away defensively from that game, especially when you're playing bad offense. I do think offensively there were some takeaways. Jaquindon Jackson looks good. He broke a lot of tackles, as you guys saw in the film study. It's also something that he broke a lot of tackles during his career at Utah. I did have a really close friend of mine sit next to Jaquindon's family at the game, and they are super excited to be a part of this program. Jaquindon Jackson is just going to be really good. I thought Arkansas's tight ends played well as well. It's good to see Ty Washington get some touches. Good to see Luke Haas get involved. And then, of course, the Arkansas receivers had a really good game. Broden gets a touchdown, and so on and so on. I do think one issue for Arkansas moving forward will be the wide receiver rotation. Number one, this is going to be extremely difficult for any wide receiver at Arkansas to play a whole lot and really separate themselves from the pack, especially if your name is not Andrew Armstrong. One thing that we tend to think of when we think of wide receivers is targets, right? What we don't think of is how does everything else affect your targets and your playing time. So let's use, for example, a guy like Brandon Allen, right? Brandon Allen, pure pocket quarterback. So if you're a pure pocket quarterback, that means there are more targets to go around. Because if a play breaks down, Brandon Allen's not going to scramble for a gazillion yards. That is not the case with TAYLEN Green, who is still not necessarily young, but he is still somewhat early in his development under Bobby Petrino. He's not the best thrower of the football. He's going to scramble a lot. So it's going to be tough for any of the Arkansas receivers outside of Armstrong to put up big numbers because he's just going to take off and run a whole lot, as you guys saw in the UAPB game. The second thing with this offense and the wide receiver rotation is I do think Arkansas will continue to run a lot of 12 personnel. I think there are 4 tight ends that will continue to play a lot for Arkansas. As many of you know, Luke Haas is a really good football player. He showed it versus UAPB. Ty Washington is also really good. Varkey Gums and number 81 Posky, or however you pronounce it, will play a lot. So if Arkansas is a really talented tight end room, that means you're going to play more tight ends. And if you're going to play more tight ends, well, that means you're going to have one less wide receiver on the field. So your average amount of wide receivers that will be on the field this year for Arkansas will be roughly 2.3 on average, because I do think they'll run a lot of 12 personnel, but still mostly run 11 personnel. But you take a look at this, the Arkansas wide receiver room, it is a logjam of a lot of different, very good players. Now, like I've said, Andrew Armstrong is really good, and he should continue to play at a high level from where he was last year. But that other wide receiver position is going to be interesting, right? You have Tyrone Broden, you have Isaiah Satania, you have obviously Jaden Wilson, Isaac Tesla. How much do you play Monty Harrison? And that list goes on and on and on. I know I'm missing a few names, but one thing Bobby's going to have to decide is, what does he want the wide receiver rotation to look like? Isaac Tesla had a really interesting game versus UAPB. He also started every single game last year for Arkansas. So do you play him more? What do you want to do with Monty Harrison? I think that's going to be a fascinating storyline as the season moves on, because all the receivers have shown some promise as Arkansas's offense moves forward. I felt the offensive line played well. Obviously, you will versus UAPB. We will see their first real test versus Oklahoma State. Now, can TAYLEN Green slice up Oklahoma State? They can, but we say hi to Patrick Church. Welcome. 35 of you in here right now. Don't forget, drop a comment. Please drop a super chat. That goes an absolutely long way. We do have a very fun guest joining us here in a few minutes, Demetrius Johnson. You're going to love him. And next week, the guy who has carved himself into being one of the most prominent radio personalities in all of Arkansas athletics will make his Power Hour SEC debut a week from now. And I guarantee it, you have definitely listened to this guy at some point. So we'll save that as a surprise for next week. I also noticed that my thing here says week 1. I do not want that to say week 1, baby. That was from my NFL show from earlier today. I totally forgot how to. Oh, okay. I know how to change it. Let's go here. No, I don't want that. How do I change my name from? I guess I got to keep it as week 1, baby. No, I think I can edit it. No, that's not. Oh, God. Week 1, baby, is just going to be my name. But we like week 1, right? Arkansas's 1-0. Now, let's talk Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon is really good. I don't think that's really, much of a hot take. Ollie Gordon, Ashton Genty, Quinshon Judkins. There's a lot of different running backs who could claim they were the best running back in college football, right? Travion Henderson on that same Ohio State team. We'll see what Etienne does. I mean, there's so many great running backs. But Ollie Gordon might be the absolute best. Now, one thing that's interesting is I do think Arkansas's defensive line is somewhat undervalued. I think this unit's okay. I don't think it's spectacular, but Davalaire, Landon Jackson, so on and so on. This isn't a bad unit at all, right? But you're going to be put up to the test. One guy, though, Alan Bowman, is older. This is a 25-year-old starting quarterback in college football, 24 or 25. Had a really solid game. It was a weird game versus North Dakota State. That game was like 17-10, and then it ended up being 44-20. The game was like in the teens in the third quarter, and then the floodgates opened up. Alan Bowman's a really solid college quarterback, right? Not spectacular, just a good college quarterback. And look, is he who you have to worry about? Not really. Who Arkansas really needs to worry about is a man who is the thumbnail of this image today, which is Mike Gundy. Now, I have never, ever shied away from Mike Gundy praise. Now, do I understand that Mike Gundy is a very controversial figure in the world of college football? Yes, whether it's the OAN stuff from a few years ago or the drunk driving comments during the offseason that I think were weird, but I understood what he was trying to say. Still, you don't make those comments. And obviously, I'm a man. I'm 40. We all remember that. It is what it is at this point. Mike Gundy, you could make a very strong case is a top 5 college football coach of the modern era, especially if you take out the national champions. Okay? Especially if you do. Mike Gundy is that good. He really is. And now, Arkansas is going to go on the road and play this guy. Now, what do we know about Oklahoma State? Well, during the Mike Gundy tenure, Oklahoma State has had some weird season openers, right? They lost an early game last year versus a bad team. This year, they played South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits are pretty good. Oklahoma State is really solid this year, and you got to go to their stadium. One thing, though, that I think is a small benefit is Gundy's teams at Oklahoma State have a tendency to get better as the season moves on, right? So the early version of Oklahoma State isn't as good as the later version, right? They could have packed their bags and left at the end of last season, but they fought their ways back into getting to the Big 12 championship game. So I really do believe Mike Gundy is top 5 coach of this era, especially if you calibrate it for program strength. And he should be in every college football Hall of Fame already. Okay. I understand. He's not necessarily someone that I like. I like if he and I had no ties to the game of football, I don't think I would be friends with them. But the dude is a legend. Dude is an absolute freaking legend. And you take a look at this Arkansas schedule, well, you can make a very strong case that coaching-wise, this is one of the tougher schedules that Arkansas has ever had to deal with, especially when you factor in the play calling of some of these coaches that they're going to have to play, right? You have obviously Mike Gundy here, and then in a few weeks, you have Hugh Freeze, and then a few weeks after that, you have Josh Heupel, and then obviously Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin. This is just a ridiculous schedule when it comes to talented play callers and coaches. Well, and obviously there at the end, you have Sark and Elia Drinkowitz. One thing, even if Arkansas were to lose this game, if you're competitive, at least it's going to get, Coach T. Will and the defense ready for the really good coaches that you will have on your schedule this weekend. Okay. Let's take some of the questions here. Natty season, says Patrick. Keep dreaming, baby. I do think, though, I really do believe it. If Arkansas goes 8-4 this year, Sam Pittman should be the coach of the year, and it shouldn't even be a question, unless, of course, Clark Lee continues a ridiculous run at Vanderbilt. Lawson says the biggest key takeaway from week 1 until now, no injuries going into this game, which is key for us depth-wise. I was very happy to see no injuries. That War Memorial turf I've seen claim quite a few legs. You walk away from that stadium sometimes with your team looking like pirates, but everyone was healthy. That's obviously a really good thing. Okay, let's go to here. What can a mobile quarterback do for your team? Ask LSU. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if that's necessarily a shot at Garrett Nussmeier, who you can make a strong case was the best quarterback in the SEC this past week. But I think that was Carson Beck. Carson Beck had the best game of any SEC quarterback. But Garrett was phenomenal. But you're all right. If you have a mobile dual threat quarterback like TAYLEN Green, one thing I'll always say about mobility, especially at the college level, mobility doesn't necessarily give your offense a ridiculous ceiling, right? What gives your offense a ridiculous ceiling is the explosive pass game. What mobility does for you at the quarterback position, though, is that it does raise the floor of your offense. So what does that mean? Well, if you have someone who is a truly special athlete at quarterback, and TAYLEN Green, for me, does qualify for that, you can have more broken plays go for good gains because a quarterback could just make something happen with his legs, right? It's kind of the only somewhat lifelike thing of the video games to the real life is that mobility at the quarterback can help even out the playing field, right? So if I were to play like the number 1 ranked Madden player in the world, I'm not for my quarterback going to pick someone that just sits back there. I'm not going to pick the Rams with Matthew Stafford. I'm going to go get Josh Allen and the Bills, or play with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, because I know I can run around and make stuff happen. So there you go. Let's take a few more before we get to our guests here. Stamatis Lavitas. That is an awesome, awesome, awesome name. Sounds Greek. Is that a Greek name? I grew up loving Greek culture, Greek food, Greek soccer players. Obviously, the Greek Freak I'm a fan of. Stamatis, I love your name, and you love my channel. I really appreciate that. Got another great name coming up here in just a moment. But Lawson, you are right on the money. No injuries. That does go a long way. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, you are Greek. I knew it. Freaking knew it. Huh? All right. Let's test your Greek knowledge, man. One of my favorite Greek soccer players growing up was Stelios Giannakopoulos. I freaking love Stelios Giannakopoulos. I want my first child to be named Stelios Giannakopoulos. I don't think my wife's going to like that, though. Let's go. Concerning Oklahoma State struggled to run the ball versus South Dakota State, and they have 0 300-pound defensive linemen. Yeah, so what's funny is Oklahoma State's had like good defensive linemen in the past, right? Kevin Williams was so good. Like, I think people forget how good of a DT he was. He went to the Vikings, had a really good NFL career. But yeah, that's never like the trenches is, and that's part of what made Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy so impressive. They've never really had like elite trench play, right? And they still have won all these games. Now, they've had really good quarterbacks, not like truly any special quarterbacks, but they've had like Brandon Whedon and all those guys. Where Oklahoma State has always been good, though, is wide receiver, right? They've, Justin Blackmon, and obviously gotta hit them with it, baby. They had Tyron Johnson, a transfer from LSU, and so they've had some good receivers. And we talked about Ollie Gordon a little bit earlier. 27 carries for 104 yards and at 3.9 yards per carry. This, to me, is actually a pretty big bonus for Arkansas going into this game. 27 carries for Ollie Gordon versus South Dakota State. That is a heavy workload, right? I was actually going to save that for the end. Let me see again what his receiving numbers were in this game. How many catches did he have? So he had 4. So one benefit that Arkansas had going into this game is they were playing one of the worst teams, and Oklahoma State, while they were playing an FCS team, South Dakota State is really good. Like, South Dakota State would probably, if they were a Power 5 or Power 4 team, they would probably be like Vanderbilt, right? Well, I don't know. That's asking a lot, but that's good. My score prediction for the game. Everybody, welcome Braden Mitchell to the channel. Braden, thank you for your support, man. Actually, let's get to a break, and then we'll get to our guest, and he'll give you his score prediction. I'll give you mine. How about that? Expect Martin or Oliver to spy green the entire game. How does that work out? We'll see. I do expect, any smart defensive coordinator in this game is going to make TAYLEN Green throw the football, and that is where things can get very ugly for Arkansas very, very, very quickly. Okay? So we'll hang out with one of the rising stars in Arkansas sports media. Thanks to our friends at NoOffSeason.com.
I think joy and happiness and doing things you like is important.
My favorite thing is sports cards. When I'm not on YouTube, I am building my collection. And when I started, I wish there was a sports card strategy show.
He wasn't necessarily going to be a first-round pick before all this Heisman buzz. Now they're talking about him being a top 5 pick.
Paul Hickey and the team at NoOffSeason.com personally helped build my Jaden Daniels collection, and they're looking to do the same for you. Just check them out on social media or NoOffSeason.com.
Sauced up. You got to get them sauced up.
What's up, my guy? How you doing?
Demetrius Johnson, On the Hill Media. You went to SEC Media Days. You do everything in the world of Arkansas athletics. You've also worked in high school media in the Northwest Arkansas area. So before we dive deep into your thoughts on this matchup, give people a little background of all the different things you do, man.
Well, of course, my name is Demetrius Johnson. I'm with On the Hill Media, originally from Houston, grew up in South Korea. So I'm a sports fanatic. I have ties to El Dorado. That's how I know Mr. Carter here. Just a big fan of Arkansas football.
So UAPB happens.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you take away from that game?
Absolutely. I took a lot away from that game. Not necessarily from the on the field play, but I was looking at a lot of body language.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you were at the game.
I was at the game. Yes, sir.
Yes. So by body language, you cover these guys. You know some of the guys as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you mean by that?
Just previous years, you would see where guys would score touchdowns and, guys would celebrate, but not to the level of how you feel or how I feel the family atmosphere is this year. Okay. You would see TAYLEN score, you would see Singleton score, and guys really came in celebrated, and it was genuine. You could see the excitement. You could see guys really put in a lot of off season work together. You could really tell that they had moments of struggle on the off season, and you see that they were really happy to perform the way they did on the field.
Which defensive player? So I'll be honest, Demetrius, and I was in my film study as well. I was in Vegas. I didn't want to sit and watch this game while I was in Vegas versus UAPB. I went through. I cut the film study, did a few offensive players, but
I actually caught that episode. That was great content. I actually watched that.
I do appreciate that, but I wasn't going to watch any defensive reps. Like I did one cut, and I was like, okay, there's just not really anything you could take away. So defensively, you watched the game. Obviously, you're at the game, so you've gotten to not only get the in-person experience, but we were out to the game 2 or 3 times up to this point. What were the key takeaways defensively, and how do you think that's going to carry over going up against Alan Bowen and Ollie Gordon next week?
Well, defensively, I see a lot more speed. That was a lot of what the coaches really spoke on this offseason, that they felt this team got a lot faster, and you can definitely see it. Guys were able to break on the ball. I know these were UAPB, so yes, they will get tested. That was actually one of my key elements of the game is Arkansas secondary versus Oklahoma State's wide receiver core. Because yes, they do look faster, but they haven't been tested against true SEC talent. So I'm really ready to see guys like Danico, guys like Metcalf, and really see how they progress now that we're going into a kind of even opponent.
Let's go to the offensive side of the football. Your thoughts on TAYLEN Green?
Amazing. I think he showed flashes at the quarterback position that we haven't seen in a long time. I think it was exciting to see. I think he was as advertised. I didn't expect 70 points. So yes, it was UAPB, and I went on record to say, Arkansas did what they're supposed to do. But there's years where Arkansas was quote unquote on paper better than a few FCS teams, and they couldn't score 35 points. So to me, seeing Arkansas score 70 was not only a testament to TAYLEN Green, but I think it shows you the impact of Bobby Petrino as well.
Yeah, look, was UAPB the worst team I think Arkansas has ever played? Sure. But I think one thing Demetrius said was interesting is they played a bad Western Carolina team, and then they played a really bad Kent State team in back-to-back weeks, and they could not run the ball at all. They couldn't do anything at all up front. So I do think Bobby's play calling has been a difference. So you're mentioning that the body language was better. Do you think that's because of Petrino? And how do you feel Petrino's done, not only based on what we've seen, but behind closed doors?
I think it's not just Petrino, but, Coach T. Will too. I think guys just seeing how they prepare. You have Bobby Petrino as your offensive coordinator. So from a defense perspective, you're not going to find a greater mind than Bobby Petrino. You're not going to find too many offensive coordinators that can scheme the way he has schemed, has the SEC experience that he has. And then you have that day in and day out as a defensive coordinator. And T. Will, he understands what he's going to see. Bobby Petrino is a coach that's going to make the adjustments So I think having that week in and week out, it can only make you better. And I think you're going to see that this year. And then just T. Will having another year under his belt on the defensive side, just understanding his players and then recruiting the players that you want. This is the first year that this is Sam Pittman, all his recruits. At first, you still had some lingering Chad Morris. You still had a couple of guys from those previous class. So for T. Will to actually recruit the guys that he wanted and then, make the jump that he did from last year with these guys, I'm definitely excited to see the defense. And then for Petrino, I think when you even mention his name, it brings respect. Anytime you're a former player and you can Google a guy and go online and see a guy's resume and see he has a Heisman quarterback, you can't do anything but listen to him. And I think when he speaks, the team listens. And as a fan, I honestly feel when Bobby trots out there, he's good for 35 points. He's at least good for 35.
I try not to take too much away from UAPB, and Sam Pittman said that today. So obviously, I don't watch all the press conferences. You do. So based on what you've heard from Sam Pittman earlier today and his comments after UAPB, what are your biggest takeaways from what Sam had to say about his team?
I think he believes they're going to get tested and he's going to see a realistic perspective of what his team actually looks like this week. And I think he understood that going into UAPB. I think, me personally, I think they needed that UAPB game. I think there were too many new pieces to go into a game like Oklahoma State where they have, 18 returning starters or something like that. You're talking about a veteran team where you're talking about we had, 21 plus transfers to come and at least 12 new guys are on the field. So when you're talking about making that type of jump and playing this level of competition, I think UAPB was, I won't say perfect opponent, but I think it was a just due opponent for where Arkansas needed to really see where they were at. Because trust me, it's hard having a new offensive line. It's hard having a new quarterback. You got a new running back. You're talking about key positions. So again, I think UAPB was a great game. They needed it. They got to see guys at 100%. They got to see guys at full speed. So again, I think this week you're really going to see what Arkansas has as a team.
I totally feel the UAPB comment because I, as an LSU fan, have watched us lose 5 consecutive seasons. Just good teams.
Yeah.
I repeat, always schedule a softie week 1.
And not only that, LSU is one of those teams that get better as the season goes. Like they usually play better ball towards the end of the year. So in past years, I think Arkansas has played better when they schedule better teams. Because I remember one year where they had Alabama like the second or third game, or it was Auburn, I can't remember. And it was a world difference of the Arkansas team that I had seen previously because you could tell guys were really working in the offseason because they didn't want to get embarrassed against a formidable opponent. So again, I just think where we are, they were a good opponent for what we needed to see from our team because there was there's a lot of curiosity still from our team, but I think we were able to take notes, at least say, hey, we can run the ball. Hey, we have guys that can catch the ball. Hey, we have a quarterback that can actually run the offense. Hey, we have a backup in Singleton that, hey, we feel comfortable with him going out there. So I think we learned a lot from that UAPB game, regardless of the opponent.
I don't do Arkansas recruiting at all. I don't know if I ever will do football recruiting. It's just so much. Like
that's Pat's the guy. If you want to know Arkansas recruiting, Pat is the guy.
Okay, but you know more than I do. Okay. Your thoughts on Arkansas's recruiting class? I saw they got a defensive lineman recently that many thought were going to go to Mississippi State. Is that correct?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So your thoughts on 2025 recruiting right now?
Well, first I got to give a big shout out to Deke Adams. He's our defensive line coach. He was one that was really on that kid and was really high on recruiting him. And I think all Arkansas has to do is win. I think when you really look at Arkansas, even when we're talking NIL, even when we're talking facilities, even when we're talking brand, Arkansas ranks the top of all those categories. So I think if Arkansas can just get on a winning streak and display a brand that young people want to be a part of and can show hope and faith that year in and year out, we're going to continue to get better. I think Arkansas can definitely get those type of recruits. I think they're going to have to win big games like that Texas A&M. I know Texas A&M lost last week, but I think that's going to be a big game down in Texas where you're doing a lot of recruiting, and now you have University of Texas down there. So again, I think if Arkansas can just win key games that we should win, I think we'll get the recruits we need.
Kevin Otis from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Dang, that's good stuff, man. I love to freaking see it. Last one for you. Give me your score prediction. Do you think Arkansas will get it done on the road in Stillwater?
I think they do get it done. I think it's going to be a very, very tight game. I think they do get it done. And I say because they're going to lean on their offensive line in their running game. I think Petrino is going to lean heavy on Jaquindon Jackson to really go out there and run it in between the tackles. He showed last week that he's a physical runner, and I think Oklahoma State is going to have to compensate for the physical play on the offensive line, and they're gonna stack the box. And again, we have receivers that can really go the distance. So I think Petrino is going to really establish that run game in the first to second quarter, and then you're going to see him start doing those play actions, and then he's just going to sub in those receivers, and it's going to be a track meet, and he's going to put those 4-2, 4-3 guys in there, and he's going to see what Taylor can do.
Demetrius Johnson. I saw this comment, and it made me pull a Cameron and Mace pause. Yeah. We also have Bobby Petrino to get up in that ass.
No. Okay, so
I was like, pause?
So what was crazy? What's crazy? So I was on the sideline, and you see pictures of Bobby from the game, and Bobby was the coolest guy. And I know it was UAPB. Man, Bobby had his shades on. Bobby was chilling, calling plays. Bobby, I think I maybe seen Bobby yell once or twice.
Okay, good.
But he's a different Bobby, man. He's not the Bobby that I think he got the stigma to be in. I'm not I can't speak for him, but to me, he does seem like he's a little bit more reserved now. And you definitely see I had maturity. I know he's an older guy, but you definitely see that.
Oh, no, I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you definitely see a maturity growth and just level-headedness of what he's here for and why he's here. You can see he's on a mission. You can tell he's here. I won't necessarily say to redeem himself, but I think he's here to really paint a better picture of who he is as a person. And I think over time, people will see that, he's more than that incident that happened before he left. Yeah,
for sure. Big music guy. That's actually, one of your bread and butters.
Yes, sir.
What are we listening to now?
And that boss man D-Lo, man. I'm on that boss man D-Lo.
So obviously, he's the one really tied in with Arkansas, right?
No. You talking about YTB Fat?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so, YTB Fat is from Jonesboro.
Okay, all right. So what is boss man D-Lo? What is that?
He's from Florida. He's a Florida rapper, but he do a lot of music.
Is he like Rod Wave or Future?
He more like, if I had to compare, I guess Gucci, but I wouldn't say his flow. His flow is a little bit better than Gucci. He's one of them trap rappers, but it's a vibe. Okay. It's more hustling music than like actually trapping. It's really like motivational music.
Boss man D-Lo.
Demetrius
wants to get you to the hill, man.
I got to.
Yeah,
the team want him on the hill.
Yeah, well, look, I'll tell you this, man. One thing is like, I'll tell you this from an LSU perspective. LSU being very open to those kinds of things has really helped them a lot. They have better athletes than basically almost everyone, but it matters.
So I know everybody kind of watches Colorado, but did you see that Colorado had Big X to plug after the game?
Yeah, like he's not like a legend, but he's like a younger.
Absolutely, but I think those are
listening to.
But those are the type of things that you're gonna have to do to get recruits in your locker room, because as a young adult, you see other universities doing those things. And I'm not saying you have to copycat, but you definitely, to me, if you want to compete with the Alabamas, you want to compete with the LSUs, you want to, and everybody has their opinion about what a team is, but from a competition standpoint, I think if you're going to be a blue blood, you have to do as the blue bloods do, and you really see them utilizing urban culture to their recruiting their recruiting benefits.
Yeah, you can't get Nas. You got to get somebody.
Definitely got Nas is cool, but you definitely got to get somebody a little bit more young that the youngest can relate to, because it's about them. It's about them.
Right. You know what's funny? So as you know, you saw all the photos and stuff. So I was in Vegas all weekend for LSU USC, right? And I was there with my dad, and my dad's a big hip hop fan, and we go see Future at T-Mobile.
Yeah,
right?
Future.
So I love Future. I do.
Yeah.
But you want to know the craziest thing? Part of why I wanted to have you on is, like, there's probably a lot of people that are like, well, I don't want to go listen to Boss Man D-Lo. It's just not my thing or whatever. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. But the thing that blew me away, all right, at this Future show is how many young white kids were there. Like, it was most, I would say half the audience were 12, 13, 14-year-old teenagers to like 24, 25-year-old. And white kids, right?
Absolutely.
Doing mosh pits. I was like, wait, is this My Chemical Romance on stage? No, this is Future, man. So
yeah.
like
and I think it's the sign of the times, because it shows you, like, as a people, we consume it, but they're the actual what's the word I can say? They pay for it. Like, we consume it, but they actually are fans of the art. They'll actually go invest their money into those things, versus us. We kind of just partake of it.
Like, I wouldn't have gone out of my way to go see Future. I wouldn't have. But when they had the flames and everything, stuff like that, I was like, man, I'm kind of into this now. It's good,
and I like. Okay, this is gonna sound weird, but I like artists that, especially if I'm gonna go to a show, you have to be a showsman. You can't sit there and just hold the mic. I can't. I will say Boss Man D-Lo is one of them. He's one of those artists that's just gonna stand there and hold the mic. Really? Yeah, he's just gonna stand there and hold the mic.
All right. So then I can't go. Like, there's like maybe, like, I feel like if you do that, you got to be a legend. Like, sure. like George Strait can do that. You can go to a George Strait show. He's just gonna show up in his cowboy hat and just play songs or whatever.
And I think that's the difference between an artist and a rapper. An artist is going to actually bring elements of different proponents of art into the music space, while rappers, all I'm here to do is regurgitate these lyrics. I don't understand showmanship, So, I love the artistry of it.
So Boss Man D-Lo is who I need to go. So I DJ weddings, but I don't like. I remember one time I played. I did a Louisiana wedding, not one in Baton Rouge, but I knew the couple, and they wanted some young boy. And obviously, I'm biased because it's a Baton Rouge thing or whatever. I played one young boy song, and the older people are like, "What the hell is this?
Yeah,
what is happening?" So, like, I keep up with young boy, but that's more so because of the Baton Rouge thing. But I'm gonna go check out.
Yeah, check out D-Lo. I know you like to work out, so he workout music.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, he workout music. Good workout music.
So check it out on the Hill Media, and we'll have you on a little bit later this year, Demetrius.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. I always enjoy seeing you, man. I love your content, and keep doing your work.
Yeah, but we'll talk soon.
For sure.
I love it. So last week we had Kyle Sutherland on. He does a great job covering Arkansas. Media would say hi to Jackson. It's good. You are right. South Dakota would have beaten Pine Bluff by a lot. I totally agree. But yeah, Demetrius knows a lot about music. I play a lot of music, obviously, as a wedding DJ, whatever, but I do not know music like he does. Like, it is ridiculous how much he knows about all types of music. But I do agree with him, or my own take as well. There are very few artists that could just sit up there and not do a show. Like, if I'm going to see George Strait, I don't want to see George Strait not being George Strait, right? Like, if he were moving around a bunch and doing, like, Garth tactics, it wouldn't be the same. So I guess if you like an artist enough and he just doesn't move or actually put on a show, then sure. Ken, excuse me. Welcome. Next week, we'll have Ty Richardson on. So we'll be back on our regular schedule. I've known Ty for a very, very, very long time. I don't think I think I've been on his show like a long time ago, but I don't think I've ever. No, he went on my show when I was doing radio in Arkansas for a little bit. But Ty Richardson will be on next week. All right. And yeah, we've had a lot of accomplished Arkansas media members. Power Hour Nation, let's go. I like it. Okay. Get Power Hour SEC to 5,000 subs. Let's do it. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Okay. I am not fully here right now. Like, I'm not. Like, I hopefully the show's been okay. My dog's going crazy because my wife's just kind of home. Vegas knocked my ass out. I swear to you. I did not sleep the last 48 hours. And the funny thing is like, I drank maybe 2 beers the entire weekend. One, because I was doing a live show and someone paid for a beer. Y'all, Vegas is insane. Vegas is freaking insane. I know you guys knew that already, but dude, I can't do it again, but I will do it again. Y'all, Vegas. The thing that sucked was I had a full weekend doing a bunch of like subscriber like stuff, but I also went to dinners and stuff like that, and it was fun. But the final night, I had to do a live show, and then I did all the Arkansas film study stuff, and I didn't go to sleep. I didn't go to sleep the last 48 hours, and it's too much. Okay, it's just too much. I can't. I don't know. I don't know what to do next time I go to Vegas, other than not actually go. But I know I'm going to go because it's fun as hell. It's also way too expensive. It is way too expensive. And one thing I think Arkansas fans, and I know this is going to sound like it's going to sound like distasteful. I don't know who's FaceTiming me right now. Oh, this is going to sound distasteful. Okay. Because inflation has destroyed me as a content creator. It's really hard because, you know, a lot of my money comes from your donations, right? Donations go down when inflation goes up. You have less money. And it's fine. It just comes with it. But one thing you do tend to enjoy about Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, pretty much anywhere in Arkansas, is it is so much cheaper than practically almost everywhere else. Okay. It is so much cheaper. Okay. So much cheaper. Vegas is just insane. Vegas might be the most expensive city to visit. I'm serious. Like, I honestly think you can go do New York City cheaper than you could go do Vegas. You'd have to plan it strategically. But Vegas is absurdly expensive. Most cities are absurdly expensive. But Fayetteville, for everything that you get of living in Northwest Arkansas, relatively low crime rate, Fortune 500 companies. Overall, Northwest Arkansas is like a food area. If we're grading it 1 to 10, Northwest Arkansas in terms of food is probably a 4 or 5. Let's be honest. Maybe 3, 4, or 5. Not saying that there's not good places to eat in Northwest Arkansas, but you compare it to other like growing metropolises, it's not close, right? Yes, there are some places that are truly, truly, truly transcendent. Wright's Barbecue is one of them. But, you know, it's an okay food city. But great bars, great things to do. Northwest Arkansas is absurd value for what you get in return. Okay? Personal insults? Wait, I don't think I did anything personally insulting. I've done. You guys would be shocked at how often I show love to Northwest Arkansas. Like, I'd move there in a heartbeat. I freaking love Northwest Arkansas. My closest friends live there. Okay, I love Northwest Arkansas. I don't think it's a personal insult to give you an honest review on the food there. The food is good. I'm not saying it's good. It's just when you compare it to other areas in the country, Northwest Arkansas, as far as a food area, once again, there are elite places in Northwest Arkansas. I'm not denying it, but overall, the cuisine ceiling of Northwest Arkansas is not as good as other places. Okay, so I don't think that's anything personally insulting to any restaurant, but no one goes to visit Northwest Arkansas or goes to live there because of the food, right? It's not why, like, if you want to move to like a good food city, you would go to obviously South Louisiana. Once again, that's very biased, but you go live in New York or Baltimore or somewhere like that. Okay. Okay. So Kingsley, thank you. I thought that was probably like, if I was going to be negative, I thought that would actually be something that you agree with, right? There's like it's and once again, I'm not saying it's not a personal insult. I'm not saying Northwest Arkansas doesn't have great food. All right, this is going to get clipped. And the one thing you do as like an LSU fan, you talk about the food. Every one of my friends that live in Northwest Arkansas would say the same thing. Okay, I'm not saying there aren't good places. Hell, before the Duke game, I went to and had some of the best tacos I've ever had. I don't even remember the name of the place. Got pretty lit pretty quickly. The margs were pretty good. Yeah, so any city in Texas destroys Northwest Arkansas. That's not close. Most cities in like Louisiana destroy it. Alabama probably also destroys it. Like I said, I think I would prefer to live in Northwest Arkansas than Miami. I think I would prefer to live in Northwest Arkansas compared to probably Vegas. Now, I would rather visit those cities. I've never been to Miami. I think I would prefer to live in Northwest Arkansas to Austin. Austin definitely has better food and better culture, more diverse. But I think I would still prefer to live in Northwest Arkansas. But then again, I don't have any family, but essentially my family lives in Northwest Arkansas. Okay. Nuck, you support my film studies as much as anyone. You're the first commenter in every one of my film studies, or you're in the first couple of comments. I appreciate it. Okay. I think as far as like if you're living somewhere, things to do is always like very important. And Northwest Arkansas is getting more things to do. But, it's not like a travel destination for a lot of people. Okay. More diverse means lack of culture. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. There's in Northwest Arkansas, they don't have a lot of people that look like me. There's not a whole lot of I still love it. Not a whole lot of South Louisiana Creoles in Northwest Arkansas, but I think that's changing too. I do, but I still love it. I still do. Yes. So I won't go into my relationship with this guy here. There we go. Top 5 places to live. Is Northwest Arkansas top 5 places to live? So personally, I would love to live there because great place, obviously, good place to raise a family. Also, once again, my closest friends live there, and their kids and stuff like that. But it's a little bit different. So I think I would be very biased towards that in Baton Rouge. I love Baton Rouge. Okay, I do. I mean, I think Baton Rouge is a fantastic city. Okay. So things need to get better for my home city, but I still love it. Baton Rouge clears Northwest Arkansas, but once again, I'm biased. I'm really, really, really biased. I love both of those places, though. I do. I could see my wife and I in both of those places for the long term. Top 5 places to live. One area that's like kind of underrated is, and I did radio there remotely, from where I am, is Greenville, South Carolina. Greenville, Spartanburg area, South Carolina. Lots of fun things to do around there. It's got a little Fayetteville kind of vibe to it. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a little bit different for me because I like gambling. I guess I could live in Vegas, but I don't know. I don't think I could. I don't know. I don't top 5 places to live. I don't know. One of my really good friends, B. Mill, he lives in Tulsa. I heard Tulsa's pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, that's what sucks. A lot of crime rates are bad in metropolises. So there you go. But it is true. Coach Slot is the best coach on the planet right now of the Liverpool future quadruple champions, led by Mo Salah, led by Virgil van Dijk. This is a channel where if you don't know who Virgil van Dijk is, you can go take a hike. Take a hike for Van Dijk. Get out of here if you don't know Virgil. All right, back to football here before we skedaddle. All right, here's a comment. Northwest Arkansas has a fair amount of diversity. Yeah, so I think that's changing. I mean, like I said, I like Northwest Arkansas. I have Black friends that live in Northwest Arkansas. I have Hispanic friends that live in Northwest Arkansas. So, yeah, I mean, once again, I like it. I do. You already missed Demetrius. I do too. Demetrius is awesome. It is good to have football back. I'm a huge NFL guy, so I'm glad the NFL is back as well. I do find it interesting that Cam Little's a kicker, and there's another kicker, what's his name, from the UFL, who was Cam Little's backup. That's insane. It would be Arkansas to produce 2 elite kickers. So, yeah, as far as Oklahoma State is concerned, one interesting Oklahoma State fact, all right, they have had a lot of South Arkansas athletes at Oklahoma State, in particular from one county, all right. A long time ago, there was a fullback they had by the name of John Johnson, who's still coaching at a high level now as an assistant. I don't know exactly where, but I know he's somewhere. They also had Desmond Jackson from Parker's Chapel, okay, who was a really solid running back for them. He was more so a backup. And they also had one of the best Arkansas high school basketball players of all time, James Anderson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with James Anderson. James is a friend of mine, so once again, I'm biased. But James went on to be all Big 12 Player of the Year for Oklahoma State, got drafted by the Spurs, and is still enjoying a successful professional basketball career overseas. And he had a few big games in the NBA as well. So lots of athletes have gone from Arkansas to Oklahoma State and done great things. But there you go. Are you about to pick up your mail and get all PSA 10s? I love it. The Jackrabbits aren't ready. But yes, this is a James Anderson fan channel. Okay. I've gone back and forth. I like more James Anderson or Daniel Gafford. I like both of them a lot. 2 of my favorite Arkansas athletes of all time. But they're awesome. They were awesome. James Anderson, man, dude, he is so, like, in terms of like all-time great athletes from Arkansas, he is very underrated. I'm not just being biased. Like, I still hold a grudge. Like, some Arkansas site listed the best Arkansas or the best basketball players from Arkansas, and it did not list James Anderson in the top 25. And dude, I almost had a raging fit. I was like, y'all do not understand how good that guy was. There's so many James Anderson stories when he was playing at Junction City that are truly out of a movie. But part of what hurt his allure was that obviously he didn't go to Arkansas, but he's just a quiet guy. He would hate that I'm even talking about him on a football channel as much. He just likes playing ball and taking care of the fam. But James Anderson, man, was a beast. And yeah, I was watching James Anderson in a game, and I almost got thrown out. I won't go into that story. But I essentially did get thrown out. I was leaving anyway. I wasn't gonna let that one rogue fan have the last word. I was with my Arkansas, my soccer teammate, my friend Hunter Brown. He could attest to the whole thing. It was interesting. But I am a James Anderson fanboy. Now, a few more things for Arkansas football. I know a lot of you come here for the film breakdowns and all that stuff. Like I said with Demetrius Johnson, I did not watch the Arkansas defense really at all versus UAPB. I did 2 defensive breakdowns. I didn't want to watch them at all. I think, and this is just a good thing for you going forward, whoever you are watching this right now, when you're playing a bad team, okay, there's always going to be more you could take away offensively than defensively. Because defensively, your game plan is more reactive to what the offense is doing, if that makes sense. Where offensively, a lot of things come down to timing. Now, I did get a few angry messages from the UAPB film study because TAYLEN Green's ridiculous touchdown run, I slammed him for it. Absolutely slammed him for it. Now, let me be clear. The run itself was really good. Obviously, okay? It was really freaking good. He looked like Jaden Daniels out there. He looked like RG3 out there. But you're not pulling that run off versus a better team. And what I tend to think, we do as football fans is we get too carried away with the end result of a play instead of actually breaking down how the play should have been run. Okay. So there was, and I'll go deeper into my explanation as to why I thought that play was a mistake, even though it ended up as a touchdown. There was less than 30 seconds left to go in the second quarter, and you only had 1 timeout left. And he did have Isaiah Satania open. Now, once again, I don't know the coverage rules or the progression rules, obviously, from the offensive side of it. But in that situation, you've got to play fast because you got to get in field goal range at the very least. The second thing is he almost ran into a sack where if you run into a sack there, you're losing the yardage. You're in extended red zone area. That would have knocked you out of field goal range. And you would have had to burn your final timeout, and the clock is not your friend with whatever it was, 20-ish seconds left. So him going backwards on that play was one that it's an area where you don't want to run into a sack ever, okay? And the third thing is Arkansas is going to play in a lot of close games, all right? So when you play, and you guys know this, during Sam Pittman's era, yeah, there are times where you've gotten your ass blown out. Obviously on the road versus Georgia where game day was there, but they were way better than you. Yeah, you're going to get blown out, but you also played in a lot of close games, as many of you know. So end of half and end of game execution becomes that much more important. So look, I don't want anyone to think that I was destroying TAYLEN Green for making a spectacular play. No, the run itself was very impressive. But when you study games defensively, when a really good team defensively is playing a bad offense, there's really not a whole lot you could take away from it. Offensively, if you're playing a team that has a really bad defense, I do think there are a few takeaways, like Demetrius said, but really ask yourself, could this same thing have been pulled off versus a better team? And that play in particular was not good. Now, it was good, but it wasn't, if that makes sense. Okay. So I wanted to get that out. Once again, it's not me hating on TAYLEN Green or whatever, because one person sent me a Twitter message who's been following the film studies for a while, and you said, and he said, hey, if Jaden Daniels had done that, you would have said that was a wonderful play. And the answer to that is no. If you actually go watch, and yeah, I'm Jaden's my favorite quarterback along with Joe Burrow, but if you actually go watch any LSU old film study, I've been critical of Jaden before, and I'm going to be as fair as I can with TAYLEN Green. So look, my thoughts on TAYLEN Green moving forward is I don't think he will be close to like an all SEC level guy, but I do feel he can be a winning starting quarterback at Arkansas. And by winning, I mean, I do think there could be a game or two where he has like just an unfreaking believable performance and he beats somebody that you don't. All right. And I am also not backing away, even though both of these teams look good in week one. I'm not backing away from my Arkansas hot take from before the season, where you guys are going to have a bye week to prepare for LSU and a bye week to prepare for Texas. My bold prediction is still out there. Arkansas will beat either LSU or Texas coming off a bye week. They will not beat LSU, so it's going to have to come against Texas. I will never publicly say Arkansas will beat LSU. That rivalry is just too much to me. So there you go. You thought the same thing. There you go. All right. Man, this wide receiver room, there's going to be some feelings that are going to get hurt over the next couple of weeks, unless Bobby wants the wide receiver rotation to be thick, which I don't think it should be. I'm very anti-thick wide receiver rotation. That's just who I am. Okay? Now, my score prediction for Arkansas is Oklahoma State is going to take care of business. This is a tough spot. You'll be in Stillwater. It's a tough place to play. And look, do I think Arkansas is going to absolutely get railroaded this weekend by Oklahoma State? One thing that you do have going in your favor is that this is a morning kick. I don't think anybody at Oklahoma State signed up to play for the Cowboys to play Arkansas, right? This isn't even close to the most exciting game on the schedule for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State does have to go on the road at Tulsa, so not really a look ahead spot for them either. I think Oklahoma State's going to throttle you guys, though. I really do. This is really tough. I wish UAPB would have given you a little bit more pushback. Now, by throttle, I mean, I think they will just win comfortably. Let me put it at that. I don't think it's going to be like Georgia versus Florida State level, but I think this final score will be somewhere in the 31-13 kind of range, right? So Oklahoma State gets it done versus Arkansas. So there you go. Ken Ray is on the opposite end of it. Arkansas 31, OSU 14. The Hogfather's been showing me love. What is this? Is this an eagle? So this eagle's the third. I don't know. But the Hogfather, I appreciate your support. Let's see. Kingsley. Look at Kingsley. Is that the Final Four there? This is an avatar. I love looking at everybody's avatar. This is a hog gamer. Okay. It's my favorite avatar. Dizzle McTwizzle's here. Dizzle. Let's go, bro. Dizzle. Jackson Johnson. Look at him chilling. Is that a body of water behind you? I like Nuck of Moose. I don't know. It is a 3D printed moose. Let's see. Dizzle McTwizzle. Y'all did my fantasy football league draft yesterday. And I feel so bad for everybody in my fantasy football league, the Skunk Bowl, because they're all ass at fantasy. Like they're not even close to my skill level. And I hate that. I really, really do. Like they're just like straight hot dog dookie water level of fantasy compared to my greatness. Okay. Most of them live in Northwest Arkansas. I still can't get over this pause though from Leslie. We also have Bobby Petrino to get up in that ass. Pause. That was the problem the first time. Leslie, I appreciate you. And look, you have quad aces. I wish I had that this last weekend in Vegas because I got my ass kicked at the poker table. And I have a very long track record of playing poker, and I've studied poker. And boy, was I outplayed. I was sitting next to some freaking beast, okay? Freaking beast at the poker table. It's a hacker hog. Yeah, I like Oklahoma State. I do. Oh, Mr. Bloodline thinks it's going to be a shootout. I'll be honest, Mr. Bloodline, you do not want this to be a shootout. This is not what you want. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know if that's necessarily TAYLEN Green's style. Like, shootout kind of games tend to favor better vertical throwers of the football, right? Does TAYLEN Green have a cannon? Yeah, he's got athleticism. I just don't feel like he's finished as a passer just yet, if that makes sense. But I'm telling you, man, there are some times where TAYLEN Green's running and making some plays, and you're like, man, dude, like the range of outcomes for him is just ridiculous. Like he's not this level of an athlete or player, but I mean, he's got some Josh Allen kind of vibes to him, you know, like 1% of the time. I'm a huge Josh Allen guy. But athletically, he is just so unfreaking believably gifted. Matt, yeah, Pokes 41-38. Ooh. I do think Oklahoma State wins comfortably. 31-13, 31-17, 34-20 kind of game. But I'll still stand by what I've said about Jaquindon Jackson. Like, I do think it's one of these games where there's such a heavy focus on the running back for their team when Arkansas's running back. I can't say enough good things about Jaquindon Jackson. He's viscerally underrated, as is Luke Haas. And I think Armstrong's underrated to a certain degree as well. So we'll see. We'll see. Nuck of Moose. That's crazy. So this is the true story. In Vegas, I went to have dinner with my biggest LSU supporter. And he is a very successful businessman in Atlanta. And he is from Arkansas. And he went to Oklahoma State. He's an LSU fan. There are a lot of Oklahoma State fans in Arkansas for whatever reason. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'll tell you this. One guy that I think could win big at Arkansas if he chose to go there would be Mike Gundy. I think he would fit really well. So there you go. Now, I really enjoyed this. Let me take a look at the analytics. I try not to during the stream. Oh, look, we had quite a few of you that tuned in via YouTube. Next week, Ty Richardson will be on Monday. We'll be back at our regular time on Mondays at 5. Ty Richardson will join us around 5:20, 5:25, 5:30. Obviously, Ty is extremely successful in the Arkansas media space. So you're going to love him if you don't know who that is. But if you're a super diehard Arkansas media consumer, you probably know who that is. I've known Ty for a long time, and I'm looking forward to having him on. Okay. Ken says we don't want Gundy at Arkansas. Like, here's the thing about like a Mike Gundy or like a Dabo Swinney, where you are the program. I don't know why you would ever leave the program where you are the program, unless, of course, Dabo gets forced out or Gundy gets forced out. But Mike Gundy is a top 5 coach of this era, especially if you take out the Natty winners. He's a top 5 coach of this era. Okay. We will see you. Next time I'll see you will be, I don't know, I might do an Oklahoma State preview film study later this week. So there you go. It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. Now, if you want more of me, I will be doing my show tonight, Power Hour LSU. So that will be tonight at 8:15 Central on Power Hour LSU. And you Arkansas fans could come brag to all my LSU fans of what you guys did to UAPB while our team lost. Okay. Tonight we are doing. Oh, we got some steak. Got some ribeyes going on. Let's go. Let's go.